everyone, welcome back to the course on Chemical Reaction Engineering 1. Myself, Nidhi Mehta, Assistant Professor at Chemical Engineering Department, LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. In the last session, we have started with non-ideal flow. In this session also, we will continue with the same topic. So let's just start with objective. What do we mean by objective? The objective refers to what will be our goal while studying this particular topic. Why we are studying non-ideal flow. So these are the objective behind studying this particular topic. The first and foremost objective of studying this topic is to determine or to construct a mathematical model for non-ideal flow. So what do we mean by mathematical model for non-ideal flow? Mathematical model refers to generating an input-output relationship of any reactor for non-ideal flow condition, which will consider each and every parameter which affects that particular reactor, right? And the second objective is to solve the design problem of reactor with non-ideal flow condition. If you recall CRE1, we have solved different problems of different reactors for ideal flow condition. All those problems will be encountered here, but the only difference will be it will be covered for non-ideal flow conditions. Correct? So now, how we can achieve this? So for achieving this, our first step will be to identify the possible deviation. Now, when we talk about to identify the possible deviation, what do we mean by that? We first need to understand what can be the possible outcome or what can be the possible problems for our given problem. That is, what are possible reasons for our non-ideal behavior, whether it is short circuiting or channeling or dead zone. All those parameters we must consider and identify at first. So this will be our first step to identify possible deviation. We must understand the exact working of our reactor and determine each and every parameter related to that. So by determining that, we can conclude or we can understand that what are different parameters which affects the working of reactor and what are different possibilities which may occur in our reactor and which can hinder the performance of our reactor. Next is measurement of residence time distribution. As in the last session also we have discussed that residence time distribution is basically the characteristic of a reactor. Right, it is basically a characteristic of a reactor which is used to determine the efficiency of any reactor. Correct. So, in the next step we will measure the residence time distribution. After determining residence time distribution, we must go for different models of mixing, as you can see in this particular step. We must consider what are different steps of mixing we need to consider, what kind of model we need to select for our process. After doing so, we will go for calculation of exit conversion of reactant. Right. So calculation of exit conversion for real reactors is quite important. Till now we have done this calculation of exit conversion, but that was based on ideal reactors. Now we will deal with the real reactors. So we will determine what is the conversion for exit or conversion at exit in case of real reactors. So these are the steps we will follow and we will try to cover in this particular chapter. Now, coming to non-ideal flow in a CSTR. So, when we talk about a CSTR, the CSTR is basically a continuous stir tank reactor or mixed flow reactor, as we already know. So, what is basic behavior of ideal CSTR? Which reactor can be termed as an ideal CSTR? If there is a uniform reactant concentration throughout the vessel, then it is termed as ideal CSTR. If I explain you this portion in detail, then it refers to if the concentration at each and every point inside the reactor is same, then that reactor is termed as ideal CSTR reactor. But in actual, whenever we are talking about real CSTR, this particular phenomena is not possible. The amount of reactant in each and every parts of reactor is not uniform. So, what is the behavior of real CSTR? Why we are calling it a real CSTR? Whenever there is a high concentration of reactant at the feed place or at the entrance, then there will be a phenomena of real reactor, right? So, real CSTR is basically those CSTR which are having high concentration of reactants at the entrance, and it also have the dead zones in it. So, there is never the possibility of ideal CSTR or ideal MFR in practice. Whenever we are using CSTR in industry, it is always a real CSTR because the concentration of reactant varies from point to point inside the reactor. Also, the concentration of reactant is quite high at the point of entry or at entrance of that CSTR. Also, there will be a possibility of dead zone in that particular reactor. Now, this is a figure which illustrates the CSTR, as you can see. This is the inlet of our CSTR and this will be the outlet of CSTR. As you can see, there is an inlet and this is the outlet of CSTR. So, what actually happens? This point or the red shaded portion, as you can see at bottom of the CSTR, is the dead zone. So, what is the dead zone basically? Dead zone is the unreactant portion of which remain as it is inside the reactor. The unreacted reactants inside the reactor which remain as it is are termed as dead zone. So, what happens? Sometimes some reactant get accumulated at bottom of the reactor, and due to that there will be a generation of dead zone. Now, this is the short circuiting above one. Point number 2. So, what does short circuiting shows? Sometimes reactant come inside the reactor but then leave the reactor without reacting. So, as you can see the red dotted arrow over there, it is the reactant which entered and left the reactor as it is. Now, talking about ideal flow, non-ideal flow in a PFR. So, in case of ideal PFR, all the reactant and product molecule at any axial positions move at same rate in the direction of the bulk fluid, right? So, what happens if the PFR behaves as an ideal PFR? In that particular case, all the molecules of reactant as well as product will move in the axial position with the same velocity and same flow rate. But this is not the actual condition. When we are using PFR in actual practice, there is a change in flow rate of molecules of product as well as reactant. This change in velocity and flow pattern is due to the presence of velocity profile, maybe turbulence and molecular diffusion. There are so many reasons which are incorporated to deviate this from ideality. Correct? So there are chances that due to changing velocity also there is a change in flow pattern. Even due to presence of turbulence, the flow pattern gets changed, or if there is any kind of diffusion happening, molecular diffusion, mass diffusion, then also there will be a deviation of molecules from the ideal flow pattern. So if you can see in this particular figure, as you can see that there is a change in flow pattern due to change in the flow rate, right? As there is a channeling happened in this particular figure, so there is a proper transfer of molecule is not going to take place, and this is due to the uneven distribution of molecules. Correct? Even if we are going to use two-phase operation, then also there is a possibility of channeling as well as short circuiting. In this figure, if you can see, there is a short circuiting and bypassing, that is due to uneven packed bed arrangement. Right? Since there is uneven packing, therefore there is a short circuiting or bypassing which is happening there. Now coming to residence time distribution. So the residence time distribution is basically a characteristic of reactor which is used to determine its efficiency. Correct? Flow through a reactor is classified by first the amount of time which the molecules are spending inside the reactor, and that time is termed as residence time distribution or RTD. The second characteristic is quality of mixing. How proper the mixing is being happening. Right? So RTD is represented as ET, which is a function of time. So residence time distribution is a function of time. Correct? How to measure RTD? So to measure RTD, we use a special thing which is known as tracer. Tracer is basically inert or radioactive material which is used to determine or to measure the RTD in any given reactor. Measurement of RTD has been done in this three particular steps. In step number 1, we will inject known quantity of tracer inside our reactor, and this injection will be done at t equals to 0, means at time equals to 0 we will inject known quantity of tracer inside our reactor. In the next step, we will determine concentration of tracer at the outlet of reactor. Again, in the step number 2, we will determine concentration of tracer at the outlet of reactor. And this concentration of tracer at the outlet behaves as a function of time. We will plot a graph between this concentration and time to determine the RTD. So this is all about this session. We will continue with this in the next session of CRE. Thank you so much.